Hello, and welcome to a brand new Five Heart podcast show. It all depends on how you're consuming us, this entertainment for your eyes and ears. I'm your host, Greg Malhochko, and joining me, as always, our founder, our fearless leader, and our friend, John Dam Johnston. Hello, John.
How you doing, Greg?
Peachy Keen, Jelly Bean. How are you?
I'm good. You know, I'm kind of. I had to recover a hack system. Monday night I complained about being tired, and then I spent since then trying to rebuild a system that was hacked all to hell and rendered useless and unusable, and it's been fun.
Can I ask a question, a professional question?
Sure.
Why do people hack? Is it boredom?
Well,
Is it system chaos that they're trying to integrate? In your professional opinion, is it just because they're all a bunch of jerks and assholes?
Well, number one, a lot of them do it for attention. For example, I remember years ago I worked with a company that did augmentative technology. Their website was hacked by some people in Turkey, and it displayed this Turkish stuff, and that was like a symbol of it was kind of like a gang sign type thing. Then I told the company CEO, you need to patch it, we need to do this and this and this, and she said, we don't need to do that. Our other consultants say we don't need it. In 2 weeks, I had to clean it up again from the Turks. But that was because they wanted attention. Some people just do it because it's malicious behavior. But the biggest problem is that ransomware, some people do it for ransomware where they're asking companies to pay them money to get their data back, and they're successful at it. Probably the worst thing is that people do it to steal information. And, this doesn't ever make the public news, but it's news for the people that, well, like me, I have to work in cybersecurity. I don't do it all the time, but it's part of my job. But hospitals are constantly getting really badly attacked and data stolen and systems compromised and rendered useless all the time. And that part is very disturbing. I think that part is done largely to steal information, identity theft. It's not the kind of identity theft that you would use to steal somebody's credit card. But here's an example. You can read the book Crack 99, but there was a guy from, it was Valspar Corporation, was stopped before he got on a plane to China with all of the recipes for paint. And the Chinese have compromised him because they discovered, I believe, if I remember right, the story was his wife had breast cancer. He couldn't afford the hospital bills. The Chinese basically said, if you bring us all of the recipes for these paint, we will pay you gobs of money, and you'll be able to help your wife live. And he was stopped as he was getting on a plane somewhere. But this sounds really easy, but I want you to think about something for a minute. If you ever thought about paint manufacturing, it's a recipe, just like putting a recipe together for cookies, except that it's incredibly complex,
Sure.
right? You have discrete manufacturing, which is like a car. You can put a car engine together and you can disassemble it, and you'll still have the same number of nuts, bolts, whatever went into it. Process manufacturing is we take liquids, we take different solutions, different chemicals, we put them together. We can't pull them back apart again.
Right.
Okay, well, paint, you look at paint, what is paint? Paint will say, you go to the store and they go, it's guaranteed to last 25 years. Well, to make that stuff is an incredibly painful, long process of figuring out the process manufacturing, what heat those chemicals have to be brought together at. I'm going on way out a long time about this.
No, it's great. And to that point, it's an intellectual property. The process
it's very expensive.
Right, the process and the exact colors. I mean, that's why you go into a Home Depot or a Lowe's and you sit there looking at the wall of paint swaths, and you're like, I just wanted gray. There's 83 different grays. I was going to say shades of gray, but that's that's a book or something. I don't know. So,
do you want to hear one more?
John, I want to hear anything you have to say, big guy.
Okay. Here's one that's caused problem for my customers in the last few years. What hackers do is they go out to like LinkedIn, right? And they'll go and this is why people steal information about your friends and who you are off Facebook. Stealing identity information, not to steal your credit cards. But here's what they do. They go out on LinkedIn and they search for anybody's profile that has anything to do with money. And by that I mean, let's say they're a CEO, or I'm sorry, a CFO, Chief Financial Officer, accounts payable, anything to do with banking. And then in my case, they did this to 2 customers. But then they went out and they found that those customers, because so many people use Office 365, the Office 365 had an algorithm that you created the passwords, but it was an easily broken algorithm. So what they do is they'd do a slow burn against the accounts, because you put your email address on LinkedIn, they knew what your email address was, and then they just slowly try different passwords logging into your webmail. And once they got into your webmail, they would create rules. And they created rules so that if the word invoice showed up in an email, or the word payment or anything like that, they would forward those emails off to Gmail burner accounts, or burner accounts somewhere in email systems. And what they did after that is they would look at them and they would start sending fake invoices to these people. I had one customer send $60,000 to Singapore that they never saw again.
Ooh.
And I think another one sent $45,000 to the UK, a really quick bank account in the UK. But it's most of the general public really doesn't deal with this stuff, and it's not explained to them either for this stuff. So that's the problem.
To that end, Fred Sacco says, worked in tech for many years. Cybersecurity is a thing I've had burnt into my brain, but it's still a thing in present day people don't take seriously. And to that end,
they don't. One thing I'd say is that you all need to put 2FA, dual factor authentication, on everything. Start with Facebook. Okay, let's move on to Husker sports. I wore myself out now. Now I'm tired. I want to go sleep.
Before we get there, the year was 2000. I was about a week and a half, 2 weeks away from having the first of 2 reconstructive foot surgeries I'd have that summer. The summer I graduated high school, super awesome summer to spend on crutches and pretty much stuck at home. One of the books that I got to help pass the time, and in fact I liked the first book so much I got the entire series, was Tom Clancy's Net Force. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, John.
Not that book. I don't remember it.
So again, it's a series, and it was only $7.99 US. But it says, in the year 2010, computers are the new superpowers. Those who control them control the world. To enforce the net laws, Congress creates the ultimate computer security agency within the FBI, the Net Force. Now, I like these books so much that I got the entire run of them, or at least what I think is the entire run. Read them all probably as they came out. Haven't looked at them since. For whatever reason, they're still on my bookshelf. That's why I was right here. So I need to put these books away, put some other books out. But how about we just move on, John?
Yeah, we should.
You're not on the clock right now, so we don't have to talk about mainframes and proxy servers and all that other fun stuff. So we're here to talk about the true passion.
You didn't want to hear about the fact that Google's going to change SSL certification renewal to 90 days next year, and it's going to cause... Let's move on.
Huh?
Okay.
By the way, that Tom Clancy Net Force book is right next to this other book I'm proud to own. John Johnston's Been Dead, Never Been to Europe. Available in paperback, as well as Manage Your Damage. Manage My Damage? How to manage being damaged.
Manage Your Damage, Heart Attack Survivor.
So, Husker sports, John.
Husker sports.
How about it?
Oh, my God. I don't know.
Okay. Well,
I know what happened today.
Are we going to talk, or do you want to dive right into Matt Rhule and comments?
Yeah, let's do that, because everybody had to listen to me go on about cybersecurity.
Well, hold on, Fred. Fred wants to get there. Okay, he said he could look it up tomorrow, but he says he wouldn't mind hearing about the Google SSL thing, but he can look it up tomorrow. So.
Well, the thing is, Fred, is that Google is literally going to move SSL certification. Our certificates renew, I think, every year now. They are proposing they move to every 90 days. And it's going to be an increase in workload for a lot of us, but there are automated protocols you can use to automate renewal of your SSL certificates. This more on Tech Talk. Welcome to Geek Week. Matt Rhule. Go to Matt Rhule.
Okay. So we are in the midst of spring practice. Spring camp. I don't know.
Spring practice.
Thank you. The spring game is just a shade over 2 weeks away, John. Just a shade. April 22nd. You're going to be there.
I am going to be there.
You have your tickets. Your bags are packed. You are... you're going to drive.
I'm going to hitchhike.
Even better. Buddy, I guarantee you put that thumb out there, you pull that pant leg up a little bit, show off them calves, you're going to have the prettiest gal giving you a ride to Lincoln. She was headed to Michigan, but she's like, you know what? I need to get that guy where he needs to be. No. So the spring game is 16 days away by my count. As we're recording this, exciting time, exciting spring. We talked last week about the return of Frank Solich, and Matt Rhule, I believe today, talked about the return of quality offensive line play. John.
I think he did. I think he said the most important thing that we've heard all spring.
Let's get to it. He says, Matt Rhule on Huskers. This is coming from Steve Merrick on Twitter today. Matt Rhule on offensive tackle Bryce Benhart, who has reshaped his body for the 2023 season. Quote, I think Bryce is an NFL player. There's no doubt to me about that. With what we're doing and the way we're playing, I think it's going to turn Bryce loose. Buddy, when that... I'm going to turn the graphic off now so that we can see some things, but with the much maligned career that Benhart has had, I believe he was the top recruit out of Minnesota when we grabbed him up however many years back. This should be his last year, right? Or
I don't know.
No,
he's
okay.
Not very old.
And probably COVID year at that.
I mean, it seems like he's been around forever because we've lost so much. It's being like having a serious illness, every day goes by slowly.
To that end, I've said that a lot tonight, and I apologize for the redundancy, but if you are the scapegoat on 8 losses and the 4 wins, you're like, we could have made that game a lot. We could have put a lot more distance between us and the other team if not for so and so. When you hear the name a lot, it really drives home the impression that they've been there a long time. You're right. Benhart, I think, maybe only had 2 seasons. Actually, 2 playing seasons. Is that? I mean,
maybe 3.
Okay.
I mean, we could look it up. I think he's a junior.
We could, but we're not going to. That's who's got that kind of time. But he was a 4-star offensive lineman out of Minnesota who, by the metrics and by the eye test, has not played up to the potential that everybody thought he should. Right. So to get such glowing, maybe confirmation or such glowing remarks from Matt Rhule, who has really only been working. Let's remember, Matt Rhule got on campus 4 months ago.
Yeah.
The beginning of December. So you have December, you have January, February, March. I know how the calendar works. So really only 4 months to work with these kids, get his coaching staff in place, strength and conditioning. You heard it. I'm gonna throw the graphic up here again. I guess this was Steve Merrick's opinion or observation. Bryce Benhart, who has reshaped his body. Do you know how difficult it is for an offensive lineman to reshape their body, John? Because they're a little pear-shaped to begin with.
Well, I would think that it's in a very short time frame, given, like you said, 4 months. That also means that, the strength and conditioning guy has only been around for a little while too. So I don't know. I'm not a lifter. I've never been that kind of. I was never a gym rat. I just tried to stay active my whole life and end up falling over dead anyway. But but I think I started out screaming about Bryce Benhart. The only reason I got on YouTube was because what was it, 2020 Minnesota.
21.
No, it was 2020. I was
Okay.
pissed off. I walked out into the woods, sat down in the snow next to a tree, and started spewing. And I remember specifically what I said about Bryce Benhart. I said, "Benhart, you son of a bitch," or I called him something. If you can't block a guy, you have to hold him. And I've said that. I've said that a few times about him. If you can't, if an offensive line, if a lineman is getting beat repeatedly, you're going to get called for holding sometimes, but not all the times. It's better that you hold a guy than you let him hit your quarterback repeatedly and cough up the ball. I think if Bryce Benhart can become a good offensive tackle, that will say a lot about I think this coaching staff, because what's the phrase that all of us old timers know that's something to do with like the strongest part of the chain is the weakest link.
You're only as strong as your weakest link.
Yeah, see that? And our weakest link last year was our offensive tackles on the entire team. I mean, there were a lot of weak links, but if you can strengthen that one part, I think that just says a whole lot about that we might be that much better.
James has a good point. I do want to delve into a little bit. James Marshall on Facebook says you can't judge a line till they are in a real game. The spring game is all about showcasing the potential at the skill positions. To an extent, I do agree. However, I also have, and look, maybe this is the Kool-Aid, maybe this is blind faith in or hope that this coaching staff is a little better or a lot better than his predecessor. But I'm sure that Matt Rhule watched film on Bryce Benhart. I'm positive he watched film on everybody. You got to know what areas you need to, work the hardest on. So if he's saying that he's an NFL type guy after what we've witnessed on the field, that means something to me. Again, I do think, James, that there are going to be measurables that need to be seen on the field. You cannot have your outside tackles. You're being the worst. Like, you need stability, consistency, and marked improvement from what we've had. So I just think that the assessment that Rhule had from December to now, and changing his body shape or whatever, but I just feel like these guys know what they're talking about, and I'm gonna be that guy that trusts them.
Well, there's that other graphic I put in there.
Okay.
The headline.
Not this one. Nope, sorry. I got it. Matt Rhule, Nebraska will win when it gains confidence.
Well, I mean, listen, you could look at what Matt Rhule is saying, and you could make the argument that I'm sorry, I'm texting our hopefully special guest to try to get him in here. You could make the argument that Matt Rhule is only saying those things about Benhart to increase his confidence, and that would be a good argument. But I think bleeding from Benhart into this, I can't. This is the second thing that I know Matt Rhule, and they've said a lot of nice things about the offense or the tight ends or blah blah. This player's really standing out. But I really think that this is really key also for Nebraska. There's two things that picked up on spring ball that really stuck out to me. Nebraska will win when it gains confidence. See, there's so many people that when we look at football teams and we look at players, we look at how fast they are, how strong they are, and things like that. But if they don't have their mental aspect, if they don't have all the mental parts of the game down, none of that stuff really matters. You can kind of make up for it, or what I want to say, cover it up. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You can kind of make up for having a lousy organization by having really, really good skilled players, but you have to have the organization. You have to have everybody's heads on straight. So, if Matt Rhule can, going back to the offensive line, I honestly think that was probably a big, huge problem with our offensive line is they didn't have any confidence, and nobody was there to give them any.
And how many times did we say over the last however many years that Nebraska just doesn't know how to win? They don't know how to, put the boot on the neck, close out a team, and win in a very, not defiant, but in a very definitive, that's the D word I was looking for. Don't start, Fred. But in a definitive manner. And, look, Matt Rhule has success. A lot of the coaches that he's bringing around him have success. Look at Marcus Satterfield. He at South Carolina last year, didn't he beat I will get there. Yeah, good question, Fred. Didn't they beat upset Clemson or something last year? I mean, it's South Carolina had a couple of impressive wins on their resume the last couple of years. So yeah, I think look, this game is a physical game. They say it's X% physical. I definitely think that football is a 70+% physical game. But the 30% that's mental is not memorizing a playbook. It's getting your head right. And so, John, you know what I do, and you know who I work for. For those who don't, I'm not going to get into the specifics, but it is a commission-based income. It is sales, and the one thing that I've heard that I probably need to take with me for more success is look, you go into somebody's house, you sit down and have a meeting with somebody, you are assuming that you're going to write up the deal, and make them tell you no. And I think for a lot of these players that have been in the Nebraska locker room for the number of years, it's Michigan or it's Ohio State or it's, God forbid, Minnesota or Wisconsin. I mean, they go in with that defeat. They have gone in with that defeat. So I like every aspect of Matt Rhule's approach to the. I just forgot. I started reading Fred's comment, and the rest of my thought went off the track. And it's a good comment. Fred says Satterfield was taking a beating for a while till they Margaritaville?
Yeah.
Clemson. Then they started loving him again. I don't know what Margaritaville is. I mean, in this context, I know what Margaritaville is.
Fred, I'm sure he'll explain it with colorful language. By the way, our special guest, I told him that I didn't want him opening us up on his car. So it's about 15 minutes for him to get home, and then he'll join us.
Perfect. Let's address.
By the way, you mentioned Michigan.
Yep.
Michigan has just scored in the second period to tie Quinnipiac in the Frozen
Hockey.
Four.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a very good game.
Fred says, too unable to Uber Margaritaville. Okay. Speaking of adult beverages, Fred asked a couple minutes ago, also, what are you drinking, Greg? I'm going with Kincaid's Snow Beast tonight. Well, tonight I'm picking up something I saw new at the store, new to me, this past Sunday, and I grabbed a sixer of it, put it in the fridge. It comes to us from Texas. Barbecue and beer. It's about all that Texas is good for. Don't get me started on what?
I have family in Texas.
Yeah, but they're not from Texas. They relocated to Texas. Am I wrong?
Go ahead. Go ahead and berate, mess with Texas Tech. There, Greg.
This comes to us from the terrific, I believe it's pronounced Spetzel Brewery in Shiner, Texas. Shiner Bock, Shiner Blonde. This is a Shiner seasonal. By the way, speaking of Shiner seasonals, if you have the ability to find one between Thanksgiving and Christmas, you need to get Shiner's Holiday Cheer. Not you, John. I know you don't drink, but for everybody else, it's a terrific winter beer. This is Shiner's Trail Ale. I don't know how well you can read that. Probably not. There you go.
It looks like Trail Ale.
It is inspired.
Does that mean it's made from poop?
Nope. It's trail mix inspired ale brewed with chocolate, nuts, dried fruit, and with natural flavors added. It's 6% alcohol by volume.
That's a tasty amount.
It is a taste. It's a tasty lot of things. But I really like Shiner Trail Ale, seasonal, so limited time only. There we go.
I like the Shiner Bock. I remember that. Probably too much.
Or maybe you don't remember it too much, right? All right, so while we're talking Nebraska football, and this definitely won't be the end of the conversation because if our special guest arrives, that's definitely his. Here we go. Fred says, I liked Shiner Smoked Ale. It was good. Trail mix beer. Where did they make it? In Austin? No, it's right there in Shiner, Texas. Come on now. It's just a trail mix inspired beer. It's good. Okay, don't judge it. Don't judge it till you tried it. Easy for me to say. So we have another graphic I inadvertently popped up earlier, but here we go for people to be able to enjoy it, where Matt Rhule confirms, this is from Zach Carpenter, or Zach_Carp on Twitter. Matt Rhule confirms Eric Gilbert will need a waiver to play in 2023 after transferring twice. Rhule is optimistic that he'll get it, but if he doesn't, they will help prepare him for the NFL. So I definitely feel like, and maybe we'll talk about we're going to talk about this with Arch Manning and nil money and things like that, but you almost have to think that Gilbert's coming up here from Georgia. He's one of those corn dogs, and there's probably, look, you're coming from the defending national champion football team. There's probably some nil money, wouldn't you say, John?
Yeah,
I would say so.
It's a breakaway.
John.
Yeah, sorry.
John.
Yeah, there's probably nil money.
We're doing a show here, John.
We are. We are.
Turn off the TV.
Eric Gilbert, there's what you would hope there's nil money involved, but I think that it's more important than that. It's a chance for Eric Gilbert to resurrect his career before he goes to the NFL.
Well,
if he doesn't get a waiver, then he's just kind of like, okay, I'm an undrafted free agent, and I have to try to make a team.
If he doesn't get a waiver, you got to think that's one hell of a scout team.
Addition.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is not the beer talking. It's just my brain not functioning because
you're old.
Yes, thank you.
Uh-huh.
I'm old. John, I had my third knee injection yesterday. I mean, so I've had 2 cortisone shots, and yesterday's was a gel injection to help give me a little less friction because it's almost bone on bone. So I'm wearing down at an early age.
Too much football or what?
Nope, not that. Just we'll call it genetics.
Okay.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I don't know what else I could blame it on.
The chat isn't as active tonight.
Where is everybody at?
Except for Fred there.
I do have. Okay, here we go. I got one for you from Fred earlier, and I think you tagged this one. It's hard to judge anything at the spring game. I remember thinking Bobby Newcomb was going to be the second coming. Granted, injuries, etc. But yeah, I was drinking Greg's Kool-Aid. It's good Kool-Aid. And we talked a little bit about that. The spring game is, we all know it's a glorified scrimmage, and we don't even know, we don't know how this coaching staff's going to do scoring or anything like that. Right. I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of contact return to the spring football game, but I also understand the realistics of you don't want to get anybody hurt. What was it? They had a couple baseball players who had some season-ending injuries in the World Baseball Classic this spring, so you don't want that to happen.
Yeah, but on the other hand, you can't play football if you're not going to bash into each other at full speed.
Is that what – look, I can't believe I'm going to do it. Go back to the 90s. Isn't that what made those teams so great?
Yeah, they beat the shit out of each other.
What was it? I don't know if it was Schlesinger or who, but said, like, we knew we were going up against the best defense when we were at practice. You know, there wasn't going to be a defense that we were going to meet on Saturday that was going to be better than what we were, banging it into all week long. So, I mean, there's something to be said for that.
There is.
John, I got one that's not on the – no, Joel, no.
Going back to that, I mean, last year when we didn't do tackle during the spring game, I asked a couple of football guys I knew about that, and they were like, okay, really, we were kind of surprised, and all of us kind of questioned, like, if we're not going to play tackle football during the spring game, how in the hell are we going to actually play tackle football when the time comes?
Right.
And it really, it was a kind of a bellwether for them, but nobody really said anything because we were all too hopeful.
I'll ask the question.
Okay.
Because I don't recall. Last year's spring game.
Yeah.
Were there any onside kicks?
No.
See? You don't practice it in the spring. You're never going to perfect it in the fall. Just saying.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Matt Hansen says they didn't play tackle football for 5 years.
Well, unfortunately, that is true, too.
Well, let's jump off of football briefly because this past weekend, if you go Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, you saw the conclusion of 2 NCAA basketball tournaments.
Yes.
And you had it on Sunday, LSU was crowned the victor in the women's championship game. And on Monday, it was UConn, correct?
Yeah.
See, I don't even know. But because, let me tell you, here we are. It's Wednesday. No, I take it back. It's Thursday. We're still talking more about the women's game and the fallout than we are the men's. Iowa's Caitlin Clark, and I'm not here to get into hand gestures or things like that, but Ralph asked this question earlier, said, Lincoln is not far from Des Moines, still wondering, did Amy Williams try to recruit Caitlin Clark? Now, whether or not the attempt was made, and maybe if Todd, who's a little bit more ingrained into the Iowa prep athletics scene, I don't think there was ever any doubt where Caitlin Clark was going to go to school, correct? I mean, yeah, I feel like she was
going to go to Iowa.
Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brainwashed.
Yeah. Great verbiage there. Brainwashed. So, yeah. I mean, in a nutshell, Ralph, it didn't matter whether she was attempting to. Now, it has since come out, since you and Todd got together. You and Todd talked about a particular gesture that was made. No, not that gesture. A gesture that came from Pennsylvania Avenue and the First Lady saying, it sure would be great to have Caitlin Clark and the Iowa team here as well. And I believe it was Todd who got into some history about Jill Biden in the 1994 Boys and Girls Convention or something like that, where she said, everybody should get a trophy, and boom, participation trophies became a thing. And for almost 30 years, we've been dealing with the fallout of that. But since that happened, Angel Reese says that she and LSU are not going to be going to the White House.
Right. What do you make of all this?
What do you make of all this, John?
I make up all of it that I try to go on Twitter every once in a while just to see what's going on, and my timeline is filled with crap I don't want to know about, and I don't really want to care about either. And 98% of it is politics, that is just people screaming at each other. I guess if Angel Reese doesn't want to go to the White House, then whatever. I think that Kim Mulkey We've had this discussion at the dinner table, and my rotten son, says basically, if the president asks you to go to the White House, it doesn't matter who it is. I think I'd go to the White House, and I thought, yeah, I'd stand up for principles or something, but that would be just a special trip. So just get off your fucking ass and go to the White House and get it over with, and shake hands and smile and wave at everybody, and maybe have a nice meal and enjoy yourself, and then just go back to doing what you're doing. This isn't hard. Why are we making everything so fucking hard these days?
Because we're a very divided peoples, John.
Oh my God. It's like we're bored.
So I don't even know how difficult it is to get into the White House. And I don't mean like I'm not planning anything, Secret Service, but there are movies, I guess pre 9/11, or maybe a shade out. But I remember specifically, and if you're with me in the comments on this, let me know. The movie X2 X-Men United, the second movie in the franchise, and there was a tour through the White House. Now it ended up going awry with a particular brainwashed Iowa Hawkeye fan, mutant with an assassination attempt. But do they still do? I mean, I can't imagine they do tours of the White House anymore. So realistically, the only way you're getting inside that fence is if you win a natty. Or, you win the Super Bowl, something like that. There's no other hope for it. So,
oh my God. Okay. Fred, he just throws everything into just a frenzy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever been to Washington D.C.
I've never been.
I've been to Maryland. I've been to, I flew into Dulles and drove to consulting stuff on the East Coast in Maryland and worked for shipyard people. That was fun. But I've never really toured our capital or done anything like that.
It'd be fun. John, let's go sometime.
Okay.
We'll go. We'll hit up a bunch of museums.
Is there a special pro? You know what we should do? We should start the protest for nil or some damn thing. That's what we should do. The march on the Capitol for nil something.
Nah. You know what? What was it you and Todd were talking about? Let's jump into it. You were talking about Arch Manning and his $3.5 million nil deal for, and I think you said, hey, good for him. Let him get the money. And I don't even think Todd necessarily disagreed, but Todd did say it's an exorbitant amount for someone who's untested at that level. Yeah. But it's no different. Now, hear me out on this. It's no different than a number one draft pick getting, the huge signing bonus and the huge deal for being untested at that level. That's been weighing on me. That's been weighing on my heart and on my mind. On my heart and on my mind. The last couple of days, I want to make sure that I got that thought out there. How is a high school senior with a nil deal, be it $3.5 million or $1 million or whatever the number may be, different than a top draft pick who's going into a situation they've never faced before?
Well, I think the idea is that you spent 4 years in college. You know what it is? It probably isn't really different because you're going up to the next level where everybody is rising up, and you're going to meet, when you go from high school to college, you meet the best of the best, start playing at that level. But when you make that jump from college to the NFL, you're playing against the extreme best. So it is a huge jump, but that's not really the problem. The problem people have is that this has changed all of college football as everybody's known it their lives. And this has thrown everything, people feel like it's the Wild West and it's changed the game, and they can't, they can't relate to it. But we want to believe that our athletes are playing for the love of the game, and they play for our school, and we love them because they play for our school. And because what I said before, everything's insane in the world, and you need that escape from reality. If you're watching Husker football for 3 hours, you want that escape from reality. You want to suspend reality and believe that your team can beat any other team on that given Saturday.
Yep.
Or maybe it's 15 hours for somebody like me who watches it from 6 a.m. till the next day, and watches all the replays. But you know what I mean? People want that suspension of reality, and I think that nil has really broken a lot of that for people. Is okay? You're just getting paid to be here. Big deal, Thanks for breaking my expectations, I guess.
No, I don't disagree with some of that to the extent. Yeah, there's a certain fairy tale. It's a romanticized version of you expect the best talent in your state to especially Nebraska to stay and stay home and play where the end that they've grown up with and dreamt about for the Garrett Nelson story, right? There was Garrett Nelson is the Caitlin Clark of Nebraska prep athletes, because there was never a doubt as soon as he got an offer where he was going to go. Same with Caitlin Clark. And you didn't have to twist his arm or fill his bank account to do it. So you're right. Because maybe it's because, it's the not wish fulfillment, but the living vicariously through others. We hope that they're there for the same reasons we'd be there. Like, you wouldn't have to pay me to wear the scarlet and cream, run out of that tunnel every Saturday. I'd do it. I'd do it just for the opportunity. Those days are gone. It is the 21st century, and we have found ways to monetize everything.
Yeah, that is true. And I think the other thing is that all the veneer that we ever believed has been stripped away in the last few years. I mean, whatever was left of veneer, like when a guy stands up and says he's a public servant, you kind of look at him and go, yeah, whatever, jackass. You're there to enrich yourself and for just like everybody else has forever. I don't know if that's good or bad, but
okay. I had this showing up there for a couple minutes there, and then I accidentally took it down. Joel Tilson says that you and I, John and Greg, need a nil deal.
Yeah, okay.
I could see it now. Our goatees, but like yours with the mane, your silver fox on like a coffee mug or something. Waking up with John and Greg. It's the 5 Heart Podcast.
I will say that it's getting harder to comb because I can't reach that far anymore.
You have a daughter. She should do it.
Oh, she lives in San Diego, for God's sake.
Tell her to move back home. Say, honey.
I raised my kids to be just like me to the extent that you can't tell them anything.
I believe it. Joel, spring game is April 22nd.
Yeah.
The Masters is this weekend. For a certain population of us, Easter is this weekend. Passover's going on right now. I've gotten my yearly viewing in of Charlton Heston's The 10 Commandments, so I feel good. I feel all right.
By the way, about the NCAA men's tournament game, it was the lowest watched game, men's final in I think history or many years. And my thought on that was, number one, I watched it. I wasn't, it wasn't a good game. And secondly, maybe you should stop putting national title games on Monday night at 8:30 in Central. I mean, that's just kind of dumb. Because I didn't bother watching the end of it. I mean, it was, UConn was going to win. San Diego State just didn't have enough firepower, and it just wasn't worth watching. And I knew that, I knew that Caitlin Clark wasn't going to be there to do this, the hand in the face thing. And Angel Reese wasn't going to be there doing that. And it was just like, oh, what's the point?
Well, no, that's important to, there weren't any personalities. You didn't have the personalities of blue blood programs. Right. You didn't have any at that point. You had San Diego State and UConn, which neither one of them were really expected to win it. So there was no Cinderella underdog story. It was shit. Neither one of them were supposed to be there. Type of thing. But you're right. There was no Caitlin Clark who lit up the moon against.
LSU. LSU.
No, South Carolina. South Carolina.
Yeah.
Was it a triple-double or something like that, 40-something points, and all doing it with the grace and dignity of a mountain goat. I was waiting for you to react to that. But there was no... There were no person. So, look, the best boxing matches, the best boxer is Floyd Mayweather, and it's not necessarily because he's the best, but because he makes you interested in watching. He'll put on a little show. Same with Conor McGregor. They'll run their mouth a little bit, so you kind of want to see them get punched just a little bit. You want to see what happens to them. Do they get their comeuppance? The men's final didn't have any of that. They had teams that nobody really cared about on opposite ends of the country, and there was no Kentucky. Middle America realistically has Kansas, Kentucky, and then they'll pull for a Duke or North. Like, I know more Duke fans than I do Nebraska fans, and I contribute to a Nebraska site. So there was nobody for the mountain and central time zones to care about, and so you're just not going to have a broad appeal for anything like that, and that's unfortunate, but I think some of it might have been after Sunday night's women's final, a little bit of fatigue too. Like, that was so you got so emotionally invested. You got a little spent afterwards, and what?
Now, what did happen? I don't know if people saw this. I don't know if it was on the news that much, but they had riots at UConn.
Oh,
I mean, did you see any of that?
No.
Cars overturned. There was a video of a guy taking a pole and trying to smash through one of the university buildings, smashing the windows out of a door. And, my thought was, what the hell is wrong with you guys? Just burn your own shitty college couches and you won't go to jail. You smash up university property or turn over a police car, you have problems.
Joel, go ahead.
He makes a good point.
Yep. Joel laughs at Purdue and says they couldn't win their first game. And Beetle B says that he would argue that Mike Tyson was the best boxer ever. Full clarification, I think I was saying that Floyd Mayweather's the best boxer presently, and you could say Bud Crawford. I'm no disrespect to the Omaha native, but the best ever for me is still Muhammad Ali.
Well, yeah, that's generational because, I mean, the Ali versus Foreman stuff and the way they carried themselves and
even
stuff was huge.
You see a clip, and I don't know who the sportscaster is or the talk show host or whatever, but Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson are both sitting there, and it's, probably Ali maybe just before the Parkinson's onset, and the question was asked, hey, if you guys both in your prime, who wins? And, Ali's very humble about it. But even Tyson's like, I got to give it to the man. He's the best. He's right here, So when Mike Tyson says that Ali's the best of all time, but pound for pound, I think nobody's been more successful than Floyd Mayweather. That's not me liking the guy.
We have a whole gob of chat saved.
I know. I've been doing my job.
Oh.
In fact, let's back up to the talk about my knee, which is definitely not, I just want to get this out of the way. Now, I don't want to dismiss it, but I want to get it out. But Joel says that European doctors are using material from eye contacts to replace knee joints.
Okay.
And I didn't know that was a possibility, but I bet you within 10 years, I'm going to be having one. So that's something to look forward to. Patrick Farrell from Facebook says, talking about the White House, you are able to do a tour. It'll take a background check and your local representative to get you there. And he adds, plus 6 months of information about the background check.
Well, that ain't happening. I might as well win a national title in something.
Let's see. Beetle B said somewhere. I had it. Oh, here we go. This is Beetle B, and we'll get there. But Fred says Coronation needs to make more merch like Coronation hemorrhoid pillows with John's face. Oh, God. I should read the entire comment before I...
Yeah, you should. Especially when it's Fred.
I just said...
You should, pre-read and then...
I saw Coronation needs more merch. I'm like, let's see what he's got to say. Nope. All right. Beetle B says, going to the spring game. A lot of comments about the spring game. Going to the spring game. Hopefully it's not a scrimmage. Want to see some football. And to that end, James Marshall says, if the spring game has no contact, why have one?
Because it's fun.
Because it gets butts in seats. Gets people excited.
Well, I mean, it's fun to get together. It is for me. I mean, if you live in Lincoln, you're probably like, yeah, whatever. But, for me, I got to drive down last year, sit there with Todd, cheer when the punter punted well. That was about it for the day. And, I this year it should be, it should be a good time to get together with a bunch of Nebraska fans. But, they should play football. I mean, they should play a facsimile. We should see kind of what the offense is going to look like. Yeah, and Heinrich Harburg as our starting quarterback.
No. Yeah. Is that your bold prediction?
Well, yeah. Why not? If it's going to be a bold prediction,
right.
That would be yeah.
Can you and Todd do me a favor when you're there in Lincoln for the spring football game?
Well, I
know you want to hear what it is before you
yes.
Commit to it. Can you, with the people sitting around you, with your section, and then eventually the entire stadium start a chant, stay with me, that goes, no onside kicks, no onside kicks.
What if you need the onside kick to win the game?
You never need to. Look, if you need the onside kick to win a game, you don't deserve to win a game.
It's a strategy.
It's such a low probability of success.
Oh my God, it's been ruined forever.
I never want to see it again. All right, so we've got that one. John Schmidt joining us on YouTube tonight says, wasn't it nice to see quarterbacks live the other day? Or, because that particular word has two pronunciations, wasn't it nice to see quarterbacks live the other day? And to which I say, it was great to see the quarterbacks live.
Well, I think they're showing, practice stuff. I haven't really looked at that stuff a whole lot, but I have looked at the people's comments about it. And, yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. Obviously, if you're going to get out there to evaluate your guys early in the spring and figure out who's going to live and who's going to stay with the program, you're going to have to see stuff live. And people, they can't be afraid of getting into contact. Even with the quarterbacks. I mean, we have enough of them, for God's sakes.
We have a trilogy, a little trio here from Matt Hansen. I'm trying to decide which one I'm going to go with first. I think I'm going to use this one first because I think it's the least amount of follow-up conversation. And that is, Matt Rhule said their job isn't to lose and then apologize to the fans afterward. That's a new approach. Could you imagine, like, just being the PR guy, the media director coming out to the podium afterwards, be like, "We're sorry, everybody. It wasn't our best showing. We'll try to do better next week."
I don't know. Did they even ever apologize or just point fingers at everybody else?
It's a good point. That's a valid statement, sir.
Yeah.
All right. There's that one. You're right, Beetle B. That did sound like Frost. Let's go with this one. I think we've talked about it before, but why not? Matt says, should we be depressed if Dylan Raiola doesn't choose Nebraska, or will life go on? Life's got to go on.
Does it?
I mean, you can be sad. You can be well, you can't be angry. You're allowed to be sad. You're allowed. What is it? We try to tell the kids. You can be upset about this for 5 minutes, and then you gotta pick yourself up, go outside and play.
Well, I think that I've noticed that more and more people, like pundit people, are starting to walk back the Dylan and Rhule to Nebraska stuff. And I guess maybe they know stuff, maybe they don't. No, we shouldn't be depressed. We should be happy that we have Matt Rhule as our coach and we have a future in front of us. And the future, you don't have to necessarily drink all the Kool-Aid and believe we're going to be national champions yet next year, but you can have some hope that we're going to be at least get to a bowl game and then grow from there. We do have a lot of other quarterbacks. Joel Tilson says life goes on, and it does. And I think nope, no go big red. Nope. Does he mean no? Life doesn't go on?
No, we're not upset about it.
Okay. Well, I mean, you'd love to see Dylan Rhule come here after we've heard all the buzz, just to see him what he can do. But no matter where he ends up, I hope the best for him.
If he ends up at Iowa, you do not hope for the best for him.
Well, okay, that's true.
What was it? You or Todd said maybe Monday or on the Monday Night Therapy, or maybe it was one of the comments from I don't know what you call them on Monday night. They're the Chatterfields here on the Five Heart Show, but somebody said, let him go ahead and sign with Georgia so that we pick him up in the transfer portal that much faster. But I think, and I tried to make this point last week, and hope I did. It's as much about Dylan Rhule at this point as it is about that crew of 4- and 5-star players that may seemingly follow him wherever he goes. It's a. I'm not going to say it's an all-in package deal, but I feel like you get that one big domino to fall, and you're going to have a lot of top-tier talent coming to Lincoln where they really haven't. And no disrespect to the guys who've been coming here, but nobody's been when's the last time we had a 5-star, honestly?
I don't know. Why are you asking me these hard questions?
I don't know.
By the way, our special guest, I had told him to wait because I didn't want him getting on in his car. I didn't want him to wreck, and he thought I meant wait till next week. So,
okay,
cleared that up. Hopefully, we'll have him here in a bit. I think
we're also gonna have to change the title when we go to put this on because it's now without a special guest.
Well, we'll see if he shows up in the next few minutes. Okay.
Fred says, after all the beatings and disappointment the last 2 decades, not getting a top-rated quarterback is nothing. That's kind of all that.
I just think college football is in such a kind of a revolutionary state right now that it. Go ahead and bring him on.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Based on what we see in the comments, mostly gentlemen, it is our privilege and honor to introduce our special guest. Better late than never, as we always say, but we forgive him because he's on the West Coast and they don't know how to tell time. He is a once and future podcaster here at Corn Nation. He has had his own show, he and a couple of buddies, which I personally, it was my favorite Husker podcast. I'm thrilled to bring to the Five Heart Show for the first time ever, believe it or not, from the Big Red Cobcast, Ryan Tweety.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Sorry, man. Sorry for the confusion, dude. How are you, Hooch?
I'm doing great, buddy. How are you, man? It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while. I thought I'd been on here before.
I don't know. It's possible. I got a bad memory.
I got a bad memory, too.
My wife handed me food on the way out here. She said, don't forget to take your food.
You know what? She's a winner.
Yeah.
Already the responses are coming in. I don't know if you can see the comments, Tweety, but Beetle B says, "Wow."
Nice. What have I missed? What have you guys been talking about? What are we gonna yell about?
Well, let's see. We talked about Matt Rhule's spring comments today about Bryce Benhart being an NFL tackle at some point. The team needs to have confidence, and then they'll start winning. They'll start winning. They'll start winning. We talked about the men and women's college basketball stuff. I know you don't probably care too much about that. What was I just talking about? Oh, the last question. You can sign in on this. Go back. The last question that you can go ahead and join in on was, if Dylan Raiola doesn't commit to Nebraska, should we be sad and think that the world has ended? So here's your time. You need to get back up to speed.
No, I don't give a shit about Dylan Raiola. He's 18 years old.
That's generally how old they are when they start playing college football.
Yeah, but I mean, there's plenty of other quarterbacks in the sea.
Name two.
What's that?
Name two. See?
Hold on, Logan Smothers.
He's already
one of those.
our guy.
Harvard. No, I don't know. Like, yeah, I mean, it'd be great to get if we got. You don't go from last place to first place in a year, you know. Rome wasn't built in a day. We'll get Dylan Raiola. He will get the next Dylan Raiola. You know what I mean?
You mean the guy after him?
Yeah, whoever that is. Maybe three. Like, you don't need Dylan Raiola to win championships.
It's Joe Schmanke of the Schmanke brothers.
Oh yeah, let's take him. Who's Joe? I don't know who Joe Schminke is.
Do you remember the Schmanke brothers?
No.
They were on SCTV. It was.
I wasn't alive when SCT was on.
Okay.
Was on.
Shit. I won't use that reference then.
I bet you that nobody on here except for like two people maybe know what that is. I only know it because I did improv.
You did it, yeah.
Beetle B says, in regards to you, Tweety, it's been a minute. And Brian wants to know, what's with the dark? Are you in the witness protection program?
No, this is my murder room. Hold on.
Okay. By the way, Quinnipiac is up 3-2 with 17 minutes left in the third period.
John, nobody cares.
What is that?
The Frozen Four.
Hockey.
Oh, I don't care. Do they fight? Who won the fight?
They don't fight in college hockey.
Really?
It's been a very physical game, though.
Talk about going from last to first. Josh says Northwestern goes last place to first place and back every year or two.
Yeah.
But we forgive Josh because, as he says here, he just got home from 5 days in Iowa, and he says it's still the worst.
Yeah, Iowa sucks, dude. So I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I just had a son, Axel.
Yeah.
Axel.
No, I don't think I knew that.
And
really,
his announcement, the very first shirt I bought for him said, I just got here and I already hate Iowa.
Right.
It's my favorite thing. Very first picture. That's how we introduced him to the world.
I made a strategic mistake. Most of the regulars know that I like a beverage in one of these most weeks, but I do have a Hawkeye Tears water bottle that I should have busted out for the occasion tonight. So my apologies to you. I meant no disrespect.
I appreciate it. I don't know if I actually have some here. I don't know if he listens to this or not, but I'm supposed to send him. Thank you, Beetlebee. I don't know who if he listens or not, but the guy that runs the Husker thing in Austin, like the Husker watch site in Austin, Texas, I met him, promised to send him 2 bottles, and then lost his contact information. So if this box has been sitting here for him for months. So if anybody knows it, tell him I need his information.
That is definitely picking up where you
This is
left
how we
off.
find
buddy.
people on YouTube, on Facebook.
So we got another question here, as we mentioned before, Tweety, before you joined in. Matt, who's a regular here, we call our Five Heart crew, our live crew, the Chatterfields, because they keep the chat going, and Marcus Satterfield, so it all works out. Matt Hansen says, in your opinion, is the sellout streak actual or theoretical, creatively engineered? And I think this comes from a clip that came out earlier this week that talked about, I don't know, what is it, hoaxes in college football or something?
The most fraudulent thing in college sports.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And of all things, the sellout streak was it. Now, look, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Tweety, but
No, go ahead.
the sellout streak is what it is, largely because of corporations, picking up large chunks, but they don't just hand them out to top employees. They give it to, correct me if I'm wrong, and I apologize if I'm not using the politically correct terminology, underprivileged youth and their families, so that they can go and attend a Husker game when they might not regularly be able to. So is it authentic? No. Is it with a good heart? Maybe. Tweety, your thoughts?
I think it's all three things. It's both actual and theoretical, because it's not a sellout streak. I mean, they're not, because a sellout streak means that you sold out everything every game.
Right.
And then it also, who gives a shit if you sell the tickets if the stadium's empty?
The stadium's never empty, though.
It's always empty.
Well, it's empty when people leave. They have to go
it's-
home at some point. It's not like a giant homeless camp or where people met after the apocalypse.
But I mean, it's like I've been times there where there's big swaths. Swaths? Is that the right word? Big swaths.
Swaths.
Yeah, I mean, because I remember when Bo Pelini was the coach, I went to a Wisconsin game and it was shoulder to shoulder, right? And then there's times after, we've lost a few games and that we shouldn't have lost under Riley. And you could kind of go down and sit wherever you wanted. I mean, maybe not. That might be an exaggeration, but there was plenty of room. There was room to move around.
Yeah, but that's because a lot of the students are too drunk to show up.
I mean, in that one particular area, but I don't know, man. I don't know if I buy. The sellout streak is kind of bullshit, for being honest.
Owen Walker says, if all the tickets are sold, it's a sellout.
I think most concert promoters, most event promoters would tell you that if they sell 90% of tickets, that they consider that a sellout.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Yeah. So my comment to the guy on Twitter when I saw this is the most fraudulent thing in sports was, after the past 5 years, that's what you picked that was fraudulent about Nebraska.
No shit. The most fraudulent thing about Nebraska football was Scott Frost.
Yeah, just not even close on that. I mean, you go pick on the sellout streak? Come on.
Well, since it got brought up, and since we've missed you greatly, and we have, and I know
Flacco is right. It's always empty. Not really. You're right. I was being, what's the word where you say things that aren't
facetious.
True? Hyperbolic.
Facetious.
You were facetious.
Yes, thank you.
But he does make a point. It's not Colorado level.
No, and it's not USC level for that matter. I mean,
right.
USC. We went to the game. And I think it was 2007 at the Coliseum, and they had the entire north end zone blocked off with these giant replica jerseys. So there's an entire section, an entire north part of the stadium that there's nobody sitting there, and they called it a sellout because those seats just weren't available.
And let's go back to that period in SC football. That's shortly after Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, Pete Carroll. That's the peak, the most recent peak for them, success-wise. So, but I also get, and I understand, and this living in the area, there's a lot to do in LA. There's a lot less to do in Lincoln. Mm-hmm. So it's understandable where, like it's LA, we have options. We have
everybody in LA comes from somewhere else.
Yeah.
There's very few people that are in LA that are like from LA.
Right. Who are just born and bred, Trojan fans, yeah.
Yeah. And also USC is rich kids too. Like it's
Lori Laughlin's kids.
Too good for football.
Yeah, they suck. USC sucks, dude. That stadium sucks.
You can't spell suck without USC.
That's true.
You can't spell drunk without UNK for all you University of Nebraska Kearney folk out there. You know who I'm talking to. Tweety, like I said, it's been a couple minutes since you've been on the talk about Nebraska sports scene. You have been missed, not just by me. I know you all recently took to social media and asked if you should come back, and I believe the support was overwhelming. We don't need to get into the specifics of why you all left, but a lot of things had happened. And I think in being a regular listener to the show, when there was a regular show to listen to, that it was like, this is just getting sad and depressing, and we just don't want to do it to ourselves anymore. So get us caught up. Really, I mean, you have a son. That's excellent. Somehow that escaped me. But what has been going on with you?
Dude, it's just the last couple of years have been nuts. We've been going through I don't know, people that listened to the podcast back in the day, like we were talking about going through that whole adoption process, and that just became overwhelming. And so a lot of my time got wrapped up in that. And then Pat moved back to Nebraska. COVID happened. Joe's a dipshit. And I mean that in the most loving way possible. And so we just sort of ended up just never kind of getting back to it after. You're right. Goddamn. Who's host? Is that you, Greg?
Yes. It's me. That was me.
Yeah. And so that's why the podcast ended. And we talked about bringing it back, but it's without Pat, it's different. And Joe is a dipshit. So like, what do you do? No, it's just hard. We've all got lives and stuff, and it's hard for us to find times to do it. So we thought we could get it back together. We tried to get the band back together, but it just didn't work.
We know a little about that. So, I mean, you the listeners, John, you, Tweedy, everybody knows I've got 3 kids, 7, 2, and 2, and my job is, unusual hours, and that like I'll have work at 10 o'clock in the morning and also 6, 7 o'clock at night. So our shows bounce usually from Wednesday or Thursday. We love this live version of the show, and we've said it since we've been doing it, which was really the beginning of the 2022 football season. But the live audience brings their own element, but it was a lot easier to do the show when we were pre-recording and be like, we got to do this on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So Tweety, if we move this to 9 o'clock, would you be able to join us more often?
Yeah, I would be.
Would you be up for that?
Yeah, of course. I love doing this stuff, man. Like I miss talking about Husker football. I miss getting into rant and get all pissed off and stuff. So yeah, I'd love to, man. This is great.
Okay, so the 30 people here in the chat, do you have anybody have any objections to moving this show to 9 o'clock Central from here on out?
I mean, I'm old.
I was gonna say you're forgetting to ask Hooch. That's 9 o'clock Central. That's bedtime.
It's 9 o'clock Central for John too, and the worst thing to happen. This is a little peek behind the curtain. Joel's on board. He's good with it. But when I sit down to like do the post-production stuff, do the audio and get everything saved and uploaded, and it's taking forever, and I doze off, and I wake up at 3 a.m, and I'm like, I got to go to bed, but I also got to get this up on the site and ready to go. So, all right. So Joel says no problem. Owen says no problem for me. Beetle B says Val's Pizza. Hell yeah. And Joel says, will Memorial Stadium be replaced in the future with a new stadium with a retractable roof?
Absolutely not.
Didn't we do this?
I think we talk about it. That's all right.
Yeah.
There's no way. It'll never happen, right? Because if Memorial Stadium, if they ever changed anything about it, people would riot.
Just imagine they had that fan experience survey that they put out a few months ago, right? That Trevor, the athletic department, sent out. Would you be okay taking out some of these some of these seats in this section and putting up higher seats and more of a premier type of atmosphere? And like, I mean, I guess some people went for it, but a lot of people were like, don't you change it. I want my 18 inches of butt space, and that's it. Like, I'll say this. From a guy on the outside who's never been inside Memorial Stadium.
You've
Shame
never
on me.
been?
Shut up. I know. It's on the to-do list.
Where do you live?
Illinois.
That ain't that far. It's like an 8-hour drive. Which part of Illinois?
Southern Illinois, down by St. Louis.
Oh, yeah, so that's even closer.
From
Right?
what?
Where's Illinois? I lived in Chicago. It's by the Great Lakes.
Yeah, no, I'm about 4.5 hours south of Chicago.
You can get to you can get to Lincoln.
I can't. I mean, I used to live in Chadron, so I've driven through it, past it.
Wait, you lived in Nebraska and you didn't go to a game?
I was always working, man. I was doing high school sports. I was calling football on Friday, and I couldn't just drive. I mean, I couldn't because I had to do the Saturday morning Country Kitchen Coaches show. Come on out. Get a free buffet.
I heard Pat Jansen is like a TV guy in Nebraska now.
He is. I saw him on some of the state basketball tournament coverage.
Yeah.
He like had an old like an old gold like sport jacket. Made me think of like Monday Night Football circa 1978. It was great.
Yeah, good for him.
So
he's got the voice for it.
He does. He does.
He got the face for radio.
Well, he has the personality. He can be a very, very nice, presentable person.
Yeah. He's very
Unlike
smart,
me.
very eloquent, very good with words. That
Unlike
guy.
you or me.
Yeah.
What the fuck do you want? They fucking won.
Yeah.
It getting up there is on the to-do list. Maybe 2023 is the year for me.
Okay.
John's going to the spring game. Maybe I can go to an actual game.
I'll be in Lincoln.
And the spring game?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to go to the game because I'm having I'm going up there and my son hasn't met my family yet. And so a bunch of people are flying into the for like a family reunion thing.
Okay.
And they're not all Husker fans. I'm going to try to get some to go to the spring game, but I don't know if they will. And I kind of want to take Axe to the spring game.
It'd be good, like dip your toes in the water.
Baby?
Yeah, he'd be like 6 months old, I think, about maybe 5 months old by that time. No, he'd be 4.5 months old. Maybe not. Maybe I shouldn't.
I don't know. I was just in Disney World. I saw younger children than that at Disney World. So,
well, they're insane. You know what I do? I defer to the mother because she's meaner and tougher than I am.
Wait, what's that? I don't know. These aren't real names, right? Fred Sacco's not a real name.
It might be.
Sometimes.
But you stick around long enough, you know that this is what Fred loves to bury HCSF. He said, heard when our former head coach got too drunk, he trolled buffets saying it's 2 a.m. Miss Nebraska ain't coming in that door.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm staying at the Embassy Suites, Beetleby. This is cool. These little things pop up and I can read them.
Yes, you can. And sometimes I highlight them.
So you pick the ones that come at the bottom. That's cool.
I do. Clearly, it's after you've read them. So
yeah.
So Joel is in my shoes as well. Never been to Memorial Stadium, on my bucket list. It is. It's quite honestly, it is on the short list of places that I need to get to, and largely because we have such as great community at Coronation, and so many of them are, face it, Eastern Nebraska based. And if I said, hey, I'm coming up for this game, I know that I'll meet up with half a dozen people. So it's very much on the on the things I definitely want to do. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's a good time, man.
And I how would I say this? I kind of want to get to it before they change a lot of stuff, like before the tunnel walk gets revamped. I want to
before the AI takes over.
Before the AI takes
over. You can't put the genie back in the bottle, but
you see those like AI portraits. Like you just give them a few words, descriptive terms. One of the ones that I saw was like the presidents with mullets, like all of the American presidents with mullets, all of the American presidents as professional wrestlers. I'm like, this AI's got way too much time on his hand.
I made all of the I made a bunch of for the evil corn cobs on Twitter.
Did you post those?
Yeah, I posted some of them, not all of them. But yeah, I have a Midjourney subscription. I like it. I love AI. I mean, I'm a video guy. I'm a video editor. It's my job, producer. So
I can't wait for you. If you haven't seen the graphics that occur at the beginning of this show, I can't wait for you to look and be like, Greg, that's horrible.
I've seen them.
All right, let's hear the feedback. I did that untested.
They're great.
Okay.
Yeah, they're fine. They're just it's a podcast logo. Who gives a shit? Like
that's what I was going for. All right, Beetle B says, "Damn, I thought all of us had been in Memorial. Downtown Lincoln's kind of family friendly now." Dondre says, "Do not take your baby to the spring game. He could get sick."
That's true.
And John Schmidt says, "Same. Never had the chance to go, but got to see the last Big 12 championship game we played in person."
Okay, that was where was that?
Would that have been Dallas?
I want to say Dallas.
Because that would have been Nebraska,
Texas Stadium.
Texas.
Yeah.
Arlington, technically.
Okay.
Well, yeah. All right, I think.
Do not take your baby to the spring game. He could get sick, as opposed to just taking him outside in LA.
Well,
I feel like there are a lot more people in LA.
It's a condensed place with a lot of people. I don't know. I would think that's a little young myself, but
yeah, you're probably right. I don't think my wife would let me.
See, you just defer to the mom because they'll kill you.
Mm-hmm.
When you're out in the woods, listen. When you're out in the woods, nobody says you fuck with the cubs. The baby cubs. The father's gonna kill you. Nobody ever says anything about the father moose coming to kick your ass because you screwed with the babies. They always say mama bear will kill you if you mess with the children.
Yeah,
I don't care
that's because the daddy bear goes away, right?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't he eat? Won't the daddy bear eat the baby bears, or is that lions?
That's only
he doesn't want the competition when they grow up, so he'll eat the bears, or is that lions?
That's only if everybody's starving.
Somebody will know. Beetlebee, I'm looking at you.
I think he's in Japan.
Oh.
No, that's
Well, they have bears there.
I don't think that's not who's in we have a viewer from Japan or who
you're right.
lives in Japan.
I
don't think it's not Beetle B.
No.
I think it's Joel.
No.
No?
God, we are like horrible memory people.
My bad.
Oh, so Quinnipiac has scored to make it 4-2 with 6:02 left in the third period of the Frozen Four to see who goes to the national title game to play
and that's
Minnesota.
Against Michigan?
It's right now Michigan is losing.
Right.
Minnesota
pretty soon Michigan's going to pull their goalie.
Yeah, they're going to lose.
Yeah, I know.
It's going to be Quinnipiac and Minnesota.
That's fine. Well, again, Nebraska does not and probably will never have a Division I hockey program. Therefore, it's not relevant to our interests.
We can root for other teams.
Okay. But does it have to be Minnesota?
Well, in this house, yes.
Beetle B lives 10 blocks from Memorial.
Oh,
Let me see if I can guess the cross streets. I'm going to guess that she lives on Northwest 1st and West O.
And now we wait.
I think he lives in the old P.O. Pears building.
Your play recognition is worse than our former football coaching staffs. I don't know what that means.
I don't know.
Because we weren't talking about plays. What a fucking dummy.
Oh, we're going to get this. You versus Fred right off in the first show you're back here.
Because I'm assuming he's talking about me. so he's my fucking enemy now. We're me versus you, Fred. Let's go.
That's what we need. That's what we need. We need war right there on the YouTube live.
Nope.
Okay. What else we got for tonight?
I didn't. Nebraska baseball. They beat Kansas State. Yay.
They did beat Kansas State.
We already talked about Caitlin Clark and
Right.
Angel Reese and how apparently now nobody's going to the White House. We found out what it takes to get into the White House now. Apparently it's a background check and going with your local representative and I don't know. I wasn't wasn't the old P.O. Pairs also Athens Q back in the day? I don't know where Josh is getting his info. Oh, here, we got an answer from... shit. Hold on. Beetle B's got an answer on the cross streets.
33rd and St. Paul. That's not 10 blocks away.
10 blocks down the bike path.
It's all Lincoln has become much more compressed.
Well, yeah, but 10th Street isn't Memorial Stadium's either on 9th or 10th, right? So that's right. That right there is 23 blocks.
Oh my God. Ralph Davis has it right. Baseball
the
plays
Q.
Michigan tomorrow.
I have a great story about the Q, actually.
What
Don't
is
be
the Q?
Don't be so needy.
What is
Eat a dick, Fred.
what is the Q?
The Q is a gay bar in Lincoln. It was a pink triangle, I think, and then it had a Q in it, and there was the Q. It was like the only gay bar, I think, at the time. And I went there with a bunch of friends. And there's this girl I had this huge crush on in college, and I decided to take her on a date, but I was a huge nerd. So I took her to a drag show, and one of the drag queens put their balls on my head. And while I'm on a date with this girl. And yeah, it was a very, very uncomfortable situation to be in.
Did you go on another date?
No, I dropped her off at home, and then we never spoke again. Yeah. Like I've acted like this is actually, it's really funny that I've never told that story. I don't think I've ever discussed that situation before, but yeah, the Q. That's my one memory of the Q.
All right. So, Don Dre asks, what is Nebraska's baseball record so far? 16-9-1. They're 2-1 in the conference, and they are taking on Michigan at Michigan for a weekend series beginning tomorrow, 17 hours from now. So
we play Michigan,
and then it's back home on Tuesday, the 11th, against Omaha. And then home next weekend for a conference series against Northwestern. Home on the 18th against Creighton, and then on the road at Iowa. So, a lot of John. You're a little bit more familiar with Nebraska's baseball scheduling. A lot of midweek games with like Creighton, Omaha, short drives, I suppose.
Well, they're short. Plus, they're the games that are non-conference. You normally play them around, teams that are close to you. And the key to the midweek games is where you use your backup pitchers and you try to get your pitchers some innings so that they can figure out if they're going to be starters on the weekend. Because the weekends are always the conference games.
Sure.
The midweek games they're not as important. I mean, you want to beat Omaha, you want to beat Creighton, you want to beat Kansas State, teams like that to build up your RPI. But at the same time, you also use them to develop your pitching staff and try different lineups in a lot of cases. So,
yeah.
Yeah, James, it is.
All right, we got to highlight this one. James Marshall says, isn't his experience at the drag show a microcosm of what the fan base went through under Frost?
Well, it is true. I mean, we showed up to a place, we didn't get what we thought we were getting, and we got humiliated, kind of, and they never had another date.
And
maybe it all turned out for the better.
And there were balls definitely put places.
Mm-hmm. None of them in the end zone.
Not where they were meant to be. Anything else? I mean, this has been going on an hour and a half now. It's not Tweedy's fault.
Yeah, sorry guys.
We were so happy that you were able to join us. We were happy to stick around.
I misunderstood John's last text. I thought he was saying like wait till next week, as like how John is when he's been drinking. He's just like wait.
Well, okay, two things. One, John doesn't drink anymore.
What?
It's been almost 5 years, right? John,
no, this month I quit drinking 3 years ago.
3 years.
Really? That's the last time I seen you then, because we had to pull you out of a bar. You wouldn't leave Big Wangs. We had to. I ran in to like buy cigarettes, and I ran into like John went into the bar, and so we had to like go in. We all chugged a beer, and we had to drag you out of the bar.
I don't remember that. What?
That's probably why.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, I don't. Yeah, I quit drinking 3 years ago.
So there's that. But John told us on the show he was giving his side of your conversation, your text conversation, and he said, "Yeah, I guess we'll just do it next week," and we're waiting. And then a minute later, you pop up in the waiting room there. I said, "We're not waiting. We're rolling."
Oh, I guess well then everybody misunderstood me. I meant wait because I didn't want you pulling up your phone in your car and getting into a wreck on a live show. Your first live show back, or your first show back in God knows, apparently 3 years.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Fred says that John just drinks Husker Kool-Aid, copious amounts of red Kool-Aid. And that's usually me. And last week I had the bottle to prove it. I was drinking legit Kool-Aid. Just for you all, because I'm the only dumbass that said we were going to go 12-0 last year, and guess what? Spoiler alert: I'm going to be the only dumbass who says we're going to go 12-0 this year. But it's going to be nice. I'm not saying that was a big Red Cobcast thing, but it's a Tweedy thing. So I'm not saying when we get into the season, when we get to the game predictions, Tweedy, is it going to be every score 69-3, or are we going to mix it up a little bit?
I don't know what you're talking about. I just call them like I see.
That's great.
So next week are you going to actually be lit so that you are not in a murder room? Why do you have a murder room?
This is my editing room. You edit in the dark because it affects the way you see things, colors and shit. So this is my editing room, and no, unless I have a lamp, which I don't. I had a lamp. And then it got annoying because it was taking up room on my desk, so I threw it away. So this is about as bright as I get. The only thing I can do is I can like put up something white, like big and bright and white on my screen, and sometimes that'll brighten my face up like that.
There it is.
Oh my God!
Isn't it weird how that works?
Is that sleeve tattoo new?
Yeah, most of it is.
See, look at that.
Oh my God!
I saw that in the dark too. These bad boys. About the only thing on me not falling apart.
See, but now that I do that, I kind of like I have to look over here to read the screen, and so now you're just looking at this part of my face.
It is the best part of your face. No.
Thank you.
Fred says that Greg, aka I, said we'd win 12. They need to drug test where he works. That probably won't happen. The drug test. I mean, we'll definitely win 12. We may even win 13. Hell, we may go 16-0. Run the table, win the whole.
If you win 12, you're gonna play for a 13th guaranteed.
Right, and then you're into the playoffs. And is next year the expanded playoffs, or is that 24?
I think it's another year away.
Okay, so 15-0.
Okay.
Excited.
I'm not gonna make my prediction yet.
All right.
I wait till the spring game.
Well, it is a little early.
Well, I wanted to circle back because we were talking, John, you were talking about the piss poor ratings for the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship a few nights ago. Two teams that nobody really cares about. I mean, I hate to say we got into all that, but how long has the football, the national championship football game been on Monday night? As long as we can remember?
I don't pay attention to year. It's been a while. I mean, the football games are on Monday night. I don't know why they do that, honestly, anymore.
I missed the question. I was reading comments. The comments.
This is something you have to get used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's hard. It's hard, and it is very distracting, and you really have to. It takes a while to get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
Fred says that he bets John has a sleeve tattoo of Greg, Todd, and our former head coach with a red circle and line across his face on one of his buttocks. I don't know how you'd put a sleeve tattoo on the buttocks. That'd be I believe most of the rest of it. I just don't know the
yeah,
art.
I mean, technically, I think a sleeve has to be on the arm.
Could you do it on a leg, or would that be a pant?
Well, no, I mean that would be a pant,
okay,
right?
Sorry. And then
I don't know if they would even call it that.
And then in regards to my saying we'll win 12 or 15, John says, how about we win 6 first? Hey, why settle, right?
Yeah, Nebraska does want Bama.
Yes. There it is. Sorry. And I think it's Josh who says, it's just nice to hear some folks keeping the expectations reasonable. Laugh out loud. Just kidding. Optimism is fun. Optimism is fun. And I think that's... Go ahead, Tweety.
I was just reading, can wiener tattoos be a sleeve, or is it called a warmer or a condom? That is a great question.
It's not something I'm ever going to have to worry about. So, John, you got any tattoos?
No, I have 0.
So what you're saying is, in a couple weeks when you're in Lincoln, if you see this guy walking around the sidewalk...
John, let's get matching tattoos.
Oh my God.
I'm dead serious. I'm dead
Oh,
serious.
dear
You
God.
pick it. You pick it, and I'll get it.
This is the best.
That actually goes to anybody. If I see you on the street and you want to get matching tattoos, I'll get it. You pick it. I'm dead serious.
Oh dear God.
It's my game. That's my game I've been trying to play, but no one has ever taken me up on it.
Really?
It's true. This man has no dick.
I think that's a movie.
That is. It's
quote?
from Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah,
Dickless.
right.
Dickless. It's
Peck?
true. Bill Murray says that.
Fred, I don't think that's the right one. Get a Herbie tattoo. Oh, get a little red tattoo, John. I know you love Lil Red.
I would get a little red tattoo before I'd get a Herbie tattoo, just because.
How about I get your face tattooed on my leg, John, and you get my face tattooed on your leg?
Oh my God, this is what it's gonna be like, isn't it?
This is going to be a lot of fun. We are
Okay.
very excited. Go ahead, John.
We're drifting.
I'm trying to get out of this.
Yeah.
Your wife is texting me to come in and take care of my child.
Yep,
it's time to go.
That is a good indicator that we've gone on too long. We are absolutely thrilled for the return to Coronation, to podcasting, to whatever medium you call this, live streaming of Ryan Tweety. Make sure that you throw him a follow on social because he's witty, he's brilliant, and he's one hell of a model American.
I can tell that that a lot of your audience does not know who I am.
No, they're not used to.
They're not going to know how to handle me.
No,
But
that's
they'll learn to
true.
love you just like we did.
I hope.
For Tweety, for John Dam Johnston, I'm Greg Mahochko. This is the 5 Heart Podcast, where easy for me to say, where we remind you each and every week that 5 Heart is all the heart you need. John?
Go, Big Red.
Tweety?
Yeah, fuck yeah.